I just didn't feel liked. His picture was still on news pages, unfortunately. So I just kind of lost the plot, claimed this victim complex, and I just never let it go. Welcome. Sorry, it's getting a bit dark now. I've just done my last video that you would have seen last week, and I'm doing them back to back because I'm just in the mood. Like, I'm just in the mood to film, and I thought, cozy, in bed, get a tea, get some sweets, or get anything. Get something that makes you feel a bit cozy, because we're going to be talking about trauma. We're going to be going deep into trauma, because this is going to be my teenage years and how I dealt with it. So not how I'm dealing with it now. It's not about the now. This is about the past. So if you're like watching this at like 13, I'm basically talking about my experience at like 12 onwards, I would say. Like, this is basically my video on how I suffered mentally. If you want to go watch the first video, that's how I suffered physically, socially, sort of thing. It's Sexual Assault Awareness Week, so that's why I'm doing these videos at the moment, because I'm going to do them all throughout April, and yeah, come along with the fucking journey. When I was around, I don't even know if I realised in primary school, I think it was definitely like the beginning of secondary, like beginning. But I think I just started asking questions because I had like I said in the last video, I had like bits of memory, tiny bits of memory, little bits of memory here and there, but nothing to kind of sustain like, this is exactly what happened to me, and like, this is how it went. And funny enough, a lot of the information that I kind of gathered as well was from Google. I went on Google and I did a search. I was like, like his name, where it happened, and I did find but at that point his picture was still on news pages, unfortunately. I do have a little battle in my head sometimes of like, should I have screenshotted it? Probably, because I do feel like now it would help me to know what he looks like, you know? It would really just make me feel a little bit more at ease. I did find information from them. The only thing was they were all a bit different, so I did have to like clarify with my mum, and I'm still not sure on the details to this day. Them pages are, for the most part, are still up. They're quite brief, but they're still there, and they still have like crucial information. So I started asking questions, and I started thinking about it, and I started falling very quickly into like a victim. And this is what happens throughout, literally, I would say until maybe last year or the year before. I had victim complex. I had a aggressive victim complex. It was brutal. It was disgusting. You do not want to meet me at that point. Bear in mind, when I do go through all of this, like I've like matured on from it, so I can explain it in the sense that like I cringe out a bit about it, or I'm not happy about it. But like, if you're watching this and you're at that point, trust me, all I want to say to you is like, it is so normal and you will get out of it. So don't think I'm like putting you down if you feel the same as I did a few years ago, because I'm like bashing myself and feeling like a victim. It's so normal, but you realise once you come out of it how negative and like how it's almost like, why were you wasting your time being like that? That's literally just how I feel about it. That's how I feel, like, why was you doing that? There are some like sensitive topics in this if you don't want to talk about like or like, you know, you get the gist, okay? There's gonna be some dark themes. So I did a lot of like self-harm, self-sabotage, ending myself. Like, it was a lot, okay? It was a lot. It was so heavy, and it was a lot for like little 13-year-old me, even though I was like 5'7". It's so normal. Just like, if you're feeling like heavy and stressed and gross, it's so normal. Like, I just felt disgustingly mentally ill. Self-harm and self-sabotage. So like, say I didn't want to do something, I would sometimes just force myself to do it anyway. And I know that's kind of like, that can be to a normal degree, but I also like self-harmed, which was also, that's not really, you can't really get away with that, you know, being a normal activity, because it's not. It's common, but that doesn't make it normal. A lot of the time I do think it was just a scream for help. Was I actually gonna, you know, no, of course I fucking wasn't. Like, I was terrified of dying. Like, who thought? But like, it just really annoys me, because I'm just like, why did I waste so much of my energy and so much of my time? And I literally wasted any ounce of emotional stability and maturity I had left in me. But the good thing is, it was in a very like developmental point of my life, because you have obviously growing up as a child and then you have growing up as like a teenager. At the same time of me going through this like start of life crisis, I also was going through like social crisis and emotional crisis and identity crisis and who am I going to be when I'm older crisis and how am I going to deal with the fact that I got molested by a man at 5 crisis. Like, I just had everything going on. I just had a lot of toxic habits and a lot of habits that, like I said, were just kind of attention seeking. And I can say that now that I'm out of it, I'd be like, most of it was attention seeking. Like, come on, Sienna, like, you weren't actually that much of a bitch and you didn't actually think that everyone hated you. Like, I literally would sit in front of cams and just be like, no, my career died. Like, fucking shut up. And I'm really glad that I can look back now and think that, because God forbid someone said that to me a few years ago, I would have been like, why the fuck are you saying that? Because I went home from cams from like one appointment and I was like, they said there was nothing wrong with me. And there low-key wasn't. I was just a girl going through the aftermath of trauma with no one helping me and literally no one guiding me through it. I feel like that has genuinely shaped my whole life and my whole personality, because I've only just gotten over it like last year. Or even like this year, like low-key's like the last few months. It's not been long. And it just shows that like how quick things can flip around mentally. Like so quick. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought that I like got out of it this year? Not me. Exaggeration. Was some of it exaggerated? Probably. I genuinely thought I was like fat, and I still do, because whatever. The thing is, I've never been like completely content with my body, and I'm not like, I'm a very, very hyper-aware person. Like, I'm not dumb. I know I'm not obese, but like I do look at myself and think, not happy. And that's not the way you should treat your body, okay? That's not the way to go. Like, that's a very toxic way of thinking. Like, if you think like, oh my god, I so relate, yeah, but it's not healthy. So like, just bear in mind that it's not a healthy way of thinking. And to be fair, I go to the gym not just for like health, but also just like I want to keep my body in check, which is a good thing. I would go on walks all the time. My social group, it was very monumental, I guess. Like, secondary school kind of just went here, there and everywhere for me. So I started in a friendship group because I moved schools in year 9. So in year 7, I got a group and I kind of stuck. We kind of stuck. We changed a little bit, but I had one best friend, Sienna. Funny enough, I had one best friend through that school, and then I moved schools and I gained another best friend. And like I said in the last video, I kind of have always like stuck to 1 or 2 people, like just stuck to like one person. Like, I've always had one best friend in a group. It's just how it's been. I just didn't feel liked. And I said this in the last video, like I might be repeating myself a bit, but I just didn't feel liked. And I think I just felt like everything was toppling over. Like, I don't know if I had good relationships at home, but we had stuff going on at home, and it wasn't like it was like I wasn't getting along with people. But like, when I was 12, my mum met my dad, so that happened, and that was quite monumental, but like in a good way, because like I get along with him so well and we're like great. But like, there were just things happening in the family still that were just a bit iffy. Oh yeah, I lost contact a few years ago with half my family, literally like basically all of my biological family. I don't speak to my dad's side whatsoever, and my mum's side, very, very, very brief, if anyone. Like, even if it's like one person, it's very brief. So there's that, and I've gained a whole new family thanks to my dad, which is like a blessing, obviously. I'm so glad that I've got all of them, because it's just really nice that I've lost all my family, but I've gained a new one, because they're like my actual family now. What happened to me always stuck through everything. It always stuck. It was like, if I didn't have anything going on in my life, that was going on in my life, you know? Like, if nothing else was going on, that was consuming me. I just claimed this victim complex and I just never let it go. It took me ages to let it go, and it's like quite sad. Like, it's not, I do feel sympathy almost for my like younger self, because it's like no one deserves to feel like that for so long. It's just, I never had the right tools and the right guide through it all, so I just kind of lost the plot for a solid few years, like you would expect any teenager to if they went through something traumatic. But it's just because there was such a delay between my physical aftermath and my mental aftermath. It literally was so far apart. Like when I say like it happened when I was 5, physical happened all the way up to I'd say like 10, 11, and then the mentally bit started. So I just was so confused and just figuring everything out and thinking like, oh my god, this has happened to me, like how do I even navigate it, when really it was like I didn't really need to go into it. I didn't really need to go into all them feelings and all the nitty-gritty details of it and find out everything in clarity, but that's just naturally what you want and naturally what you want to do. Who knows if I'll ever reinvest my time back into it and find some clarity, but for now, honestly, I just want to share rather than trying to dig it all back up, because I have had people say like, what if we just go right, dive back into it and figure everything out, and I'm like, no, thank you. I don't know how people were friends. I think people were friends with me because they just didn't know me on that level. Like I never spoke to anyone about it like in depth. Like no one was there for that conversation apart from therapists, and I'd ask questions to my mum, but like I didn't talk to anyone about it in so much detail. Maybe my dad, but like yeah, like I said, like it was very minimal, and I just didn't, my friends didn't know me on that level. It's just where you're developing so much and you're trying to figure out everything, and with all these like internal issues in my environment and my brain and my environment from the past, it was just a whirlwind. And if you feel like this, like I promise you, you're not alone, because so many people feel like this and feel like there's just so much going on and they can't quite get the time to sit with all of their feelings. One thing I did do though was I always sat with my feelings. Always sat with my feelings to do with him and everything that happened there. Yeah, I really just sat with it and went through everything. And sorry, I never look in the camera. I'm really bad at it. Like it's like I'm giving eye contact. I'm so bad at it. I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate all of the support always. Like I said, these videos will be going out every week in April. My April uploads are going to be dedicated to Sexual Assault Awareness Week, and I will see you all next Friday.